All right, welcome back, everyone. Sorry this is coming so late as well, but I wanted to finish off the open field guide, which I promised I would be doing. This is going to be part two, and this should be the final part of the open field guide. The first part is primarily intended for beginners, and this part will be primarily intended for tips and tricks, which I think older players might benefit from more. These are also things that I'm thinking about a lot when I play as well in KVK, and I think will be helpful for most people, and maybe we'll answer some questions that you also asked me in the past. So without further ado, dot mode or zoomed in. So this is something a lot of you guys asked me, and I think it's just based on your preference, in my opinion. There are players that play dot mode, and there are players that play zoomed in. I think most people probably play dot mode though. So I play zoomed in. As you can see, I just sort of zoom in and just target my marches, and I just prefer playing this method. I've been playing it since KVK 1 and I have not stopped. I tried dot mode in the past and I did not like it at all, really. And even in Imperium KVKs, I do not use dot mode. I do not think it's needed, for me at least. I know Ploto, who is also a very good player, plays in dot mode, and he gets a lot of kill points playing dot mode. And I don't think playing dot mode is bad at all, but it is just comes down to preference. Obviously, I can list some advantages and disadvantages of both. People say playing in dot mode gives you less lag. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I think server lag in Imperium KVKs is something that's unavoidable regardless. So even if you play dot mode or zoomed in, if you play in Imp KVKs, you will realize that something exists that's called server lag. When a lot of players are on the field, the server just lags as a result of that, and that's sort of unavoidable regardless of playing dot mode or zoomed in. People say they have less lag playing dot mode. I would sort of disagree to that aspect. I don't lag in general, even when I play zoomed in. So I think some people do still think it's better to play dot mode because of less lag, but I would disagree with that point. But I'll still list it here for as one of the advantages. But one of the main advantages of playing dot mode, I agree with this one, is you can more clearly see the field. So obviously it's a lot more messy when I play like this. It's a lot harder to see everything. I mean, it's not harder to see everything, but it's more easier to see everything if you see it like this. You just see it as dots. You just see your marches targeting and sort of attacking enemy marches. You see your ball. You see the enemy ball. It's just a lot more clear, I would say. So I do think this is one of the main advantages of playing dot mode, and it's more easier to fight alongside allies. I would definitely agree with this last as well, because last KVK, when I played zoomed in, I was miserable, honestly, playing with my allies. So last KVK, we were playing with 1875, who are our allies, and when they came behind us, and when they sort of meshed with our ball, when we were fighting with 2429, it was very difficult for me to fight zoomed in, because I just constantly kept targeting my allies, and it's a lot easier to play in dot mode for this, because you can more easily see the ally marches when you're in dot mode, and when you're zoomed in, it's just very difficult to tell between allies and enemies in my experience. And I sad faced a lot in this fight. Unfortunately, I didn't record it because there wasn't as much field as I thought. But yeah, it is very rough to fight alongside allies when you're zoomed in. It's more easier to click and target marches as well. It's a lot more clear your alliance, coalition, enemy, and the allies. It's a lot more easier to see and distinguish between that as well. So I think those are definitely some of the main advantages of playing dot mode. Main advantage of playing zoomed in, I like being able to see the rage bar on my commanders. So the yellow bar you can see next to my commanders, that sort of ticks up, and then I cast my skill and I run away. So I'm a big fan of sort of casting my skill cycles and repositioning, casting my skill cycles and repositioning. As you can see, I sort of move all over the place. I sort of keep moving. I cast my skill cycles and I reposition. That's just how I sort of play. And I like to be able to see the rage bar on my commanders. It's also easier to control individual marches that overextend. So let's say I see my Scipio march being targeted. I can easily pull it back. It's a lot harder to see in dot mode, I'd say, where your marches are, where you are in the fight, just because there's so many marches, and it's difficult to say where exactly you are. I mean, I know you can see your marches are sort of here. Let me go back a little bit though. So it's a lot harder to see where I am exactly in the fight. I can see enemy marches here. I can see I'm here. I'd say it's harder to see where your individual marches are that maybe jump the gun or go too far in the back and get targeted. So I think it's easier to play when you play zoomed in to control marches that overextend. You can more easily tell when a target is about to die. This is something very important, which I think people don't actually notice about playing zoomed in. when you see that circle when you're targeting enemies when you're zoomed in, that's sort of like the health of the enemy march that you're targeting. So you can see there are a lot of big circles, but there are also a lot of small and medium circles when I target. The small and medium circles, you saw one right there, I think, are basically the enemies that are about to die. So when that circle when I'm targeting the enemy gets really small, that basically means the target is about to die. It's a little hard to see just because I'm switching targets so often, but when a target's about to die, the circle around their troop becomes really small. That basically tells me it's time to switch targets. So I can more easily rage load or rage chain my marches. So I can more easily switch targets. I can keep switching targets when I know a target's about to die, because that's my indicator that that target is going to die, and my rage will reset if I don't switch targets again. So I do think there are advantages to playing both dot mode or zoomed in. I would say it's your preference. I've been playing zoomed in forever, and I've just gotten really accustomed to it and good at it. So you can see there are people that play dot mode, and they're very good as well. So it is just your preference, I'd say. And even in Imperial KVKs, I would say zoomed in is still fine. It is okay as long as you can manage it. I don't think it's bad. So your preference, I don't think either one is bad. It's my general conclusion on dot mode or zoomed in. T4 or T5 for field. I know a lot of people preach T4, especially Daddy Furious, as being a very cheap alternative to T5, but I don't think it's really reasonable to expect to be able to field T4 in Imperium KVKs, mainly because your marches melt very fast on the field and you will spend a lot more time healing. But the main advantages of T4 are they're very cheap, 20 times less gold and 2.67 times other resources. You see a sort of calculator of the resources needed to heal them, 20 times more gold and about 2.67 times other resources. So you can also mix it with T5 troops to make a much cheaper march to field. This is not a bad strategy. I know a lot of people do it. Say you want to fill 75% of the march with T5 and 25% with T4. That's not a bad strategy, I'd say, but I don't do it personally. I prefer to field either full T5 or full T4. The reason you would field full T4 is you have faster march speed on the field. This is actually something I did myself last KVK. I fielded one T4 march in the first zone and the rest T5. The reason I did that was because the T4 march was my archer march, so I wanted more march speed on my archer march. You can actually check here as well that T4 units have faster march speed than T5. It's 70 here, and for T5 it's 65. So it's not much, but it is something, and every bit helps, especially for free to play. I think it's very valuable to have more march speed if you can, especially in the first zones of KVK where your tech as free to play or low spender is very bad. But eventually I did go full T5 and rest of my resources went bye-bye. But march speed is very helpful to have. If you feel the full T4 march, you will have more march speed. If you mix it, you will not have that T4 march speed. You will have a T5 march speed march, basically, if you mix. So the main advantages of T5, lasts much longer on the field, as well as instructors or rallies. That's sort of something you can also see if you go here and you check the individual stats of the T4s, 192, 192, 187, individual stats of a T5 unit, 220, 212, and 216. So you can see across the board that they're about 30 or 40 stats higher in each stat compared to T4. So obviously they will last much longer on the field as they have more health and defense, and they also will trade a little bit better because they have more attack. As a result, they also fill up hospitals slower. So T5 all around will get you more kill points and will also because it lasts longer in the field, it'll also get you more kill points. It does more damage. It is more expensive, but in SOC you have crystal tech that can reduce the healing cost for T5. It's obviously not very easy to get for free to play or low spender. As a free to play myself, I do not get much that far when it comes to healing tech for T5. VIP 16 does obviously help, as it is sort of universal healing cost. 10% is not much, but it is something. You do not get good crystal tech for free to play, so in the later zones you might have access to it, but the first zone you basically have no access to healing costs for T5 if you're free to play or low spender. And as you can see, I think this was the first zone. I spent quite a lot just for not even a full hospital, like 430 million resources for a 630k hospital. So it is rough, obviously, fielding full T5, and it is up to you whether you think you have enough resources to manage fielding T5 constantly like me. Obviously, many players might not have 11 farms and be able to run and sustain them like me. So if you have the option, I would just maybe say mix it if you're in Imperiums, or if you're in your lower seeds, it is okay to go full T4 in lower seeds. But in Imperiums, I would highly suggest at least mixing the troops so your marches last longer on the field and maybe do a little more damage. T4 alone in Imperiums is not the best idea, I would say. Your marches are a lot squishier. Sometimes you will just melt if you get targeted by a whale. So I would definitely suggest T5 if you're playing in higher seed. T4 you can definitely get away with if you're playing in lower seed though. Hotkeys. This is something I use a lot and I love my hotkeys, especially because of the ROK PC client. So I mainly play with 4 marches: Zook Herman, Nev Joan, Scipio Luce, and what's the last one? I forget what the last one is. Maybe I already said it, but I mainly play with my playstyle is selecting all my marches like this. I use the Control A hotkey to select all my marches on the screen. I generally just drag it around or right click my marches like this. This is sort of just my general playstyle. So this is sort of just how I like to play the game. It's not maybe the preferred method, but I've seen a lot of people do this where they double click their marches on the right side. I think that's very inefficient to do, in my opinion at least, because you can just press Control A instead of double clicking like this. So I really like using hotkeys in general because I think it saves you a lot of time, saves you a lot of clicks, and it's more efficient to do. You may not like using hotkeys, but I think it will help you if you get used to it. Just the general trend of getting in the motion. I think it's a lot faster in general than going here and double clicking. I know some people on phone that play on phone do not have that option. They just double click like this all the time. That's another reason I don't play on phone for War or KVK anymore, because it feels so inefficient to double click like this. And I know on phone you have to do it like this all the time, and like target like this. So I don't like. If you have the option, try to play on RKPC or even BlueStacks and get access to hotkeys that you can use. I feel like it'll give you a lot more advantage in KVK. And I also have hotkeys to select individual marches. So if you go here, you can see further down, there's an option to bind on your troops. I believe the Control A and Control Shift A are default hotkeys. These ones you have to bind manually. I think these were binded to F1 through F5. I prefer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's say I deploy the marches here, or I send the marches out here. I notice my Zook Herman march is getting targeted. I would select the Zook Herman march with pressing 1 and then pull it back like that. Okay. So I think these are some things you should consider in KVK. Obviously these, I don't use these as much. I definitely use the Control A hotkey a lot more, but these are some things you should consider when fighting. Maybe bind your hotkeys and you like doing like this. But I don't use this as much. Definitely the Control A hotkey is something I love using when I fight in war though. Preset marches. This is something I just actually learned probably when I migrated to 2268 last KVK. So preset marches. So let's say I have 4 marches. I don't like to include my 5th march. So I have my Archer march as my first preset. As you can see, it takes quite a while. My Scipio Luce, this has a march speed. It's like when it leaves the structure, it gains a certain amount of march speed for 10 seconds. So as you can see, all my marches approximately reach at the same time, right? 2, 16, about 2 minutes, a little bit less. So what I like to do is make sure that you have your slowest march as your first march preset. My infantry march, I'd say, is my second slowest march. So I have as my second march preset. And my cav marches come sort of last as my last march presets. The reason you have to do it like this is so that all your marches arrive on the field at approximately the same time. So if I say do my Zook Herman march as my 4th march preset, and if I do my Huo William as my, where's the William? As my first preset, this would actually lose me a lot of time when I march to the field. So let's say I march to that same pass now with my 4 marches. It would actually take me a lot more time for my Zook Herman march to get to there compared to my other marches. So you can see my Huo William on first, Scipio Luce, Nev Joan, and my Zook Herman, which is going to lag behind all my other marches. So you can see my Zook Herman is now about 20 seconds behind, or 15 seconds behind any of my other marches, which is quite a significant amount of time, especially when I'm trying to march to the field and I want all my marches to arrive at the same time. So when you preset your marches, make sure that your slowest march is preset in your first march. Then your second march is your second slowest march. Then your third and fourth marches will obviously be your fastest marches. So they arrive, hopefully your marches arrive at about the same time on the when you want to reach the ball or when you want to refresh your marches. This is something also some people ask me a lot. What do I think is the best civ for field fighting? Definitely Ottoman. Without a doubt, Ottoman. This may change when we get more Smite Commanders. I don't think we're getting more for Cav. Probably for infantry, we're getting more Smite Commanders though. So the 5% skill damage is definitely great on a lot of marches, especially all the meta marches. Scipio Luce, which is only like half effective because of Luce's arch normal attack damage. Nev Joan, Zook Herman, all of these marchers love skill damage. Even my Hua William is pretty good skill damage. So Ottoman definitely, I feel, is the best for trades. I used France in the past previously, and I would say France was not as impressive. It obviously saves you healing speed ups, but I would say Ottoman is definitely the king for trades, especially if you're a mixed troop type main like me. I run a 2-1-1 configuration now, which means 2 cav, 1 infantry, and 1 archer. If you're a 2-2-1 player, like say 2 archers, 2 cavs, 1 infantry, it's still the best. Ottoman is just, I would say, for mixed troop type players, it is universally the best, trading wise at least. And for France, we get more better trades, more kill points at the cost of more healing speed ups. That's the main takeaway of Ottoman. For France, 3% troop health on all troops, and the Universal Hospital healing speed is very nice as well. You save more healing speeds in the long term, and I think it is a very good civ, but if you're playing for kill points and you have a lot of speeds like me, Ottoman is definitely your best friend. We can actually check, so let's say I have 100% healing speed, I get 30 helps. Let's see how much did I heal last KVK. 57,240,000 and 933. So let's say last KVK I had 100% healing speed, I got 30 helps. I would use about 980 days of speed ups. Now let's say I was France. France gives me an additional 20% healing speed, so I would put 120 healing speed. You can see instantly I saved about 100 days of healing speeds. So France is definitely something I would consider if you're low on healing speeds. I haven't been low on healing speeds in a while, unfortunately. I am always at a good amount of healing speeds, mainly because I play in Imperiums or Acids, and I'm very active, as you can tell. I do Marauders, chain, not as occasionally now, but I still chain. So if you don't have speeds, France I think is perfectly fine, but Ottoman will help you get more kill points, especially if you're a mixed troop type player. If you're a single troop type player, I'm sorry, that's not the best way to go, but Cav main should obviously go Germany. The buff for Germany is not as good, the 5% Cav attack, but the off-season buffs, or like the passive buffs you call it, the troop training speed as well as AP recovery is very good. Archer mains, Ottoman, that should be sort of a no-brainer. That's the only civ for archers, I would say. 5% archer health, 5% skill damage, 5% march speed. Inf mains, I'm sorry, there's nothing that much out there for you. Rome or France, and this is only assuming you're a pure one troop type main. I'd say these are generally what you want to aim for if you're a one troop type main, but you do want to transition to a sort of a mixed troop type main if you are able to. Do not stick with one troop type, let's say. Gear and comms. This is something a lot of people also ask me. I would definitely say I'm not the best to ask for archers, but I have 2 pretty good cav sets, I'd say. The pretty standard two-piece Hellish Wasteland set, the set chest, and the set boots. Ash Navarre's, Khan's Helm, and Ring and Horn. So this is the very standard set. Obviously, I want the KVK weapon as well, but it's sort of a lower priority because the Heart of the Saint gives a lot of stats. 17% defense is quite a lot for an epic. So the KVK weapon is one of my last improvements I'll make on the set, but this is ideally where you want to be for Cav players. The set chest, set boots, Ash Navarre's, KVK helm, and ring horn. I have the same set on my Hua William March with the exception of accessories. The reason I did it like this is because I want the Hua William March to be tanky. I want it to live for as long as possible. That's the main reason I did not prioritize accessories. I just prioritize the stats, as you can see, mostly defense and health. I just want this march to live as long as possible. Just getting those William casts, the active casts off, because the William buff is very important to have, especially if you run a lot of marches. Scipio, normal 4-piece set with Hope Cloak, Ring and Horn. And archers. Okay, this is where we'll run into some discussion, okay? There's a lot of sort of possible ways to go for archer here. So the 2-piece leadership with the 4-piece Dragon Breath set. This gives pretty well-rounded stats overall, mostly health, some defense, and some attack. So it is very well-rounded. These are the 2-piece leadership, the pants and the boots, and the other pieces are the Dragon Breath or the DB set, as we call it. So this is what option. I wouldn't say this is the best option. As you can see, total stats is about 69.5. It is exactly 69.5% stats. You also get 3% skill damage and 2% march speed. Full DB set or full Dragon Breath set. You can see it's pretty attack heavy, as well as defense, and not much health. So this is sort of the set I'm aiming for. It's maybe not the best, but I think that it's okay to go the full DB set. Obviously, I would say some other sets are a little better, but I don't think attack is particularly bad on archers, mainly because archers are pretty squishy as is. I just really like to get more skill cycles off of my archers before they die. Honestly, my archers die first before usually any of my other marches, so I'm fine getting more attack just so they get more skill cycles off. Zug is one of my main heavy hitters, and I don't mind having attack, but this next set might be better for you. Also, the DB set gives 76% stats. This is what most people say is the best set for archers, the 2-2-2 set. This is a lot harder to get than I would say the other sets, though. The 2-piece KVK pieces, the 2-piece leaderships, and the 2-piece Dragon Breath over here. So this is very well-rounded, as you can also see. 28% defense, 25% health, and 25.5% attack. This is definitely a pretty good set, 78.5% stats, so a little more than the 6-piece DB set, and the 6-piece DB set has more attack. This set has more health as well as defense. So I think you should ideally aim for the 2-2-2 set if you can for archers, but I don't think going for the DB set is particularly bad. As you can see, I've already started working on my boots. I'm trying to get them to awaken 5 so I can get that 5% plus 5%, 10% march speed. So this is a little hard to get because of the KVK pieces. You can even argue that you might want the KVK pieces more on your calf sets as well. That's another argument. But I don't think this set is unattainable for most people. They made conquest coins as well easier to get for most people. So maybe you might think that it's not as hard to get the KVK pieces for archer as well. So most people say this 2-2-2 set is the best for trades. And I think that's probably true as well. But I'm going for the 6-piece DB set or Dragon Breath set. And the last option, I do not have a screenshot for this or a nice picture, but the 4-piece DB plus the 2-piece KVK. So just having the 1, 2, 3, 4, these 4 pieces here, I think, and the 2-piece, oh no, not the 2-piece KVK and the 4-piece DB, which is not here. This is sort of very high on attack and defense. This is like your 4th option, but I wouldn't consider it just because it gives like no health. I think it is best to know that you should be able to spread out your stats somewhat efficiently, not like this. So I would say if you wanted to choose a set, do not go for this. It would be either between the 6-piece DB set or the 2-2-2 set for archers. But the other sets are pretty straightforward, I'd say, for cav as well as infantry. The archers, I'd say, are at your discretion. I even run a crit flag on my Zug March. I'm probably not even going to change that for next KVK as well. I'd say a lot of the decisions you make with your gear are sort of situational as well, based on your preference. But I wanted to talk about archers mainly because I do not have much knowledge about archers. This is my most recent march I built, actually. But I think maybe 6-piece DB might be a mistake. Maybe I might prefer the 2-2-2 set. It is up to you what you think is best. But that's just what I want to talk about for the gear. And that's really all I have planned for this guide. If I didn't answer your questions, let me know in the comments as well. This is basically the end of the sort of tutorial for open field. I think the best experience you can get when it comes to field fighting is sort of watching other people and then developing your own style based on how they fight and what you think you can improve your own sort of style on based on what they do. I didn't really grow up learning watching other people. I sort of just fought and did what I thought worked best for me. And this is where I'm at 10 KVKs later. This is my KVK 10 I just finished up. I still play zoomed in. I still do make most of my own decisions by myself. I don't even ask people for guidance nowadays, except for this archer gear. I'm a little behind on archer gear as well. But yeah, I think the best way to improve and grow is to maybe just talk to other people, get experience, watch other people. That's probably your best friend when it comes to this game, getting experience and getting better over time. So I hope this video helped. I'll be streaming my KVKs most likely, but I think we should be signing up soon. I'll probably be streaming my Marauders whenever that happens. But yeah, stay tuned for more videos. I'm not sure what I'm going to do next. Most likely, I was thinking about a gem gathering video, but a gem gathering guide, but I wanted to do that during KVK, like when I was in Lost Kingdom. So I'll see what I'm going to do next, and stay tuned for now. Thank you.